Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. It is Saturday night and I'm scheduling this video for Monday. I'm sure that a lot will have probably taken place by that point, but I thought I was done with this talking about California and the storms going on there. The last video I did, which I published on Saturday night, was about the possibility of having what they call an arc storm, which is an atmospheric river. That's where you get the AR, and then the K stands for 1,000 storm. Okay, and what it has to do with, in case you didn't see that video, I would recommend that you watch that video. Um, there is essentially a situation where you have an atmospheric river. And here I'm looking at Mr. MBB333 because this is how I um was inspired to make this video. We're going to be talking about this and President Nelson because it seems like the two may be connected, interestingly enough. But anyway, I was watching Mr. MBB333. He is really good. He watches sky phenomena and he also watches weather events and um, just kind of like Earth stuff. I watch him occasionally whenever I have time. Like I hardly ever have any time, but I watch him. Yeah, and yes, I do watch dutchsinse. There's always people asking me if I watch dutchsinse or know about him, and yes, I do. I do know about him. I've been watching these guys for a while, probably just like you. And yeah, so here you see it. Here you see the atmospheric river, and it appears that this is going to be a long-term event, relatively speaking. Essentially, based on my last video, it seems that this started on the 26th of December, the day after Christmas. And what it is storms just pounding California, just one after another, drenching the state, saturating the soil. And it's not good. It's not good. Now, so here's like that visualization. I would encourage you to watch his video. Um, So and then subscribe to these two because they stay on top of things that I can't. It's just too much work. But as I was watching this video, he mentioned the fact that something similar happened 5 years ago in 2018, and that's what caught my attention. Okay, so look at this. This is happening right now, right? Here I have it on my timeline. It started December 26th, right here, and it's an ongoing thing. We are now in 2023. And it turns out that this time, 5 years ago in 2018, let me get to it. Here it is. There was something called the 2018 Southern California mudflows that killed 23. Okay. I have an article here. Let me just give you an idea of what this is. A series of mudflows occurred in Southern California in early January 2018, particularly affecting areas northwest of Montecito in Santa Barbara County. The incident was responsible for 23 deaths, although although the body of one of the victims has never been found. Approximately 163 people were hospitalized with various injuries, including 4 in critical condition. The disaster occurred 1 month after a series of major wildfires. And by the way, it seems that these wildfires have an effect, like it makes these situations worse. The conflagrations devastated steep slopes, which caused loss of vegetation and destabilization of the soil, and greatly facilitated subsequent mudflows. Okay, so you get that? Because there's less vegetation, there's less to like hold the water back, soak it up, whatever. So it all just slides right down. So it makes it more dangerous, right? So that's the general idea of what happened. I'm going to show you a few more things. But what I want to focus on is the fact that this happened 7 days after President Monson passed away, and 5 days before President Nelson became president of the church. Okay. So essentially, what you have here is kind of a parallel event, although this one was. Well, I guess we're not going to know until, well, I'm not going to know until Monday. Again, this is Saturday night that I'm recording this, but the one that's happening right now seems much, much, much worse. Okay. So 5 years, an interesting number. It makes me think about, I should have pulled this up. Elder David A. Bednar. Imagine uh, Samuel the Lamanite. It was during the Christmas devotional. Hopefully this is it right here. Where he asked the congregation and the audience to imagine that, you're around to see Samuel the Lamanite. Okay, he says, now please try to imagine that you were 10 years old and a member of the multitude listening to a prophet of God foretell future events. Samuel declared, behold, I give unto you a sign, for 5 years more cometh, and behold, then cometh the Son of God to redeem all those who believe on his name. And of course, he's referring to the Savior's first coming, the time when he's born, which can, I think, be paralleled to his second coming, not just not just the time of his death, but when he was born, or not just the time, because like a lot of times we look at the Book of Mormon and we think, oh, the events leading up to when he came to the Americas, once he had been crucified and resurrected, that's like the parallel with the second coming. Well, I think they both are. I think the birth and him coming to the Americas are both kind of parallels and foreshadowings of the second coming. So this was given in 2015. All right. Um, but what's interesting is this, because I don't know who knew what and when, but President Nelson, again, a very special prophet, it would seem. They're all special, but he's the one that has, I can say for sure, has talked about the second coming the most. How do I know that? Because of my prophet tracker. My prophet tracker. I just love that name. I've looked up all their talks, or well, I did a search for key words and phrases using the Scripture Citation Index, and this is anytime that they've given a general conference speech. It doesn't matter what office they held at the time, so they weren't necessarily just presidents of the church when they gave their talks. But when you compare all the prophets together, Joseph Smith to Russell M. Nelson, um, he is by far said the term second coming the most, by far, in a way. You might be curious about Joseph Smith. Well, this is just from the scriptural teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith. It's a compilation put together by Joseph Fielding Smith. He may have said it more times. I don't know. And then from Brigham Young to, I can't remember, Joseph F. Smith, I think. Uh, these come from the Journal of Discourses, and then everything else is general conferences from 1942 until present. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. And President Nelson really stands out. So let's go back to the timeline. All right, 5 years ago, um, from what's happening now, basically the same thing or something very similar. 5 years ago, as he becomes president of the church, within days of him becoming president of the church. All right, let's read a little bit more about this. Okay, this is Cal OES News, California Governor's Office of Emergency Services, Montecito mudslide anniversary for reflection through images. Okay, mudslide. Uh, look at all those rocks and boulders and damage in the background there. As the anniversary of the devastating mudslides in Montecito, California is upon us, we want to remember the lives lost and the toll taken on their families and community. Residents were awoken in the pre-dawn hours of January 9th, 2018 to the horrifying sound of mud and boulders plowing down the Santa Barbara hillsides. The sky glowed orange from fires blazing from a ruptured gas main. The burn-scarred Santa Ynez Mountains, lining the Southern California town, had given way under the short-lived but torrential downpour of an overnight storm. By the time the sun came up, the destruction left behind became apparent. Boulders the size of houses, carried by the strength of the rushing mud 15 feet deep, had ravaged homes, reduced many to splintered 2x4s, or leveled them completely. Many of those that remained intact were filled with several feet of mud and debris. A total of 23 people died, but there were also stories of heroic and selfless actions. Um, this was certainly an apocalyptic experience for these people, right? And I actually didn't notice this until just now. This appears to be a vehicle because that looks like a tire right there. This looks like this is yeah, because there's like the door right there. It's almost like it's beyond recognition at this point, this vehicle. There's also this, okay, there's something interesting here. 3 years ago, so this is written in 2021. 3 years ago, a series of mudflows roared down the hillsides of the Santa Ynez Mountains and through the small town of Montecito, igniting frantic recovery efforts and paralyzing Santa Barbara County. As the Thomas Fire, which at the time was the largest wildfire in California history, burned more than a month in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties, a quick-moving but powerful winter storm increased the risk of mudflows in the area and prompted evacuation orders. Now, check this out. So, 2018, the largest wildfire to that point in California history. And you'll remember in the last video, if you saw it, California, they have this website, fire.ca.gov, where you can see the 20 largest wildfires of all time in California. So here's the Thomas Fire that was just referenced. You see it right here. Since that time, okay, think about what's happening now. Think about the effect that this fire had on Montecito. Okay, think about that and how it made things so much worse. And look how many fires came along that were larger since that time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. 7. So these are all within the last couple of years too, because they're all 2020 except for one in 2018 and one in 2021. I don't know, I haven't checked to see, I don't know how quickly things grow back. A couple years, it's a while. So I don't know how much these areas have recovered, but I'm assuming that this could have an effect on what's happening right now with this apparent arc storm. And you look at these locations, let's just read them off. They're just like all different locations: Butte, Plumas, Yuba, Napa, Solano, Sonoma, Yolo, Lake, and Colusa, Fresno, Madera, Stanislaus, Santa Clara, Alameda, Contra Costa, and San Joaquin. And there's Colusa again, Lake, Mendocino, and Glen. There's Butte again and Plumas again, Lassen, Shasta, and Tehama. And then Mendocino, Humboldt, Trinity, Tehama, Glen, Lake, and Colusa. So there's quite a variety of different counties. These are counties where these wildfires have been since that time in 2017, 2018. Okay, January 2018. So if history serves as a guide, probably even if there has been recovery from this, it probably hasn't fully recovered since that time. These things obviously they take time. You can't forests don't just like pop up overnight or even over a couple years, is my understanding. So this is probably going to be a big factor. Now, look at this. Look at this. Um, we're going to come back to this idea. So before 2018, before January 2018, there was a similar event in 2017, the 2017 California floods. Okay. Affected parts of California in the first half of the year. California saw its wettest winter in almost a century, breaking the record set in 1982 to 1983. 1.05 billion in damages. Okay, let's look at the one in 2018. That was only 207 million because it's a smaller town because it's Montecito. But look at the death tolls. So in 2017, it says at least 5 directly. Okay, it's like about 5. 2018, it rises to 23. And now this year, don't know. I can't remember what the number was. I think already at least one person or maybe a couple have died. I can't remember the video already that I did earlier today. But it would seem that maybe these things are just getting worse. 2017, 2018, and then this year. I don't know if there were like more of these, but like it's stunning that these are all like the same time of year. The 2017 one happened from January 7th to February 22nd of 2017. So let's go back in time and look at that. So here it is right here at the beginning of 2017, January to February. Okay. And then move forward 1 year to 2018. Then you have this one right before President Nelson becomes prophet. And then we're looking at this one right now with all these wildfires, 7 wildfires larger than the Thomas fire. And all we can do is just wait and see what the heck happens. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't think it's good. And so what I wonder, and I am just wondering, I'm not saying, but what I wonder is if basically things are getting more severe because we're getting closer to the second coming. You know, it's like you have one warning in 2017, another warning that's more severe in terms of death in 2018, and now 2012, 2022, 2023. Uh, it's yet to be seen what the outcome of this is, but it seems like it's going to be worse. And the worst case scenario is really, really, really bad. It's really, really, really bad. It has the potential to just completely dwarf the other ones. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. Uh, I think it's interesting that you have the 5 years in between. I did a quick search. Nothing else really seemed to come up for any other years between 2017 and now. So I think these are the only 3 since 2017 that I'm aware of. So yeah. Let's see. I thought there was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember. Oh yeah, and just think of it in light of all the things that we've been seeing and hearing lately. This last year in 2022, these 2 general conferences with very explicit language. The most explicit of which comes down to 2 things. Let's go to the quotes timeline. One was President Nelson himself, where he says, as I have stated before, the gathering of Israel is the most important work taking place on earth today. One crucial element of this gathering is preparing a people who are able, ready, and worthy to receive the Lord when he comes again. A people who have already chosen Jesus Christ over this fallen world, a people who rejoice in their agency to live the higher, holier laws of Jesus Christ. I call upon you, my dear brothers and sisters, to become this righteous people. The righteous people who are able, ready, and worthy to receive the Lord when he comes. That is just so explicit. And then in his last talk, he shows the clip of the Savior coming down to the Nephites, which we know it's going to look something similar to that, although there's going to be just tons and tons of angels and us, those that are worthy of us to be part of that event. And then he closes conference by saying, "May God be with you until we meet again," which has only happened 2 other times. Once with President Monson, and then the other time by President Nelson himself. And then we sing um, that hymn, God be with you till we meet again. And then Sister Nelson making the Ark reference in the Canadian, the Alberta, British Columbia um, area devotional. "We feel you have asked us to get on the Ark." She was quoting some friends. Very, very clear language, very, very clear signs, very, very explicit, plain to understand things that are being said. So, with that in mind, and then thinking about what's going on in California right now, oh boy, and this is only the beginning of the year. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year? But yeah, there you go. Uh, well, that's going to be it for this one. So I hope all of you, all my listeners in California, I hope that you're safe. Um, I hope you take appropriate precautions and really watch this thing, keep on top of it, and just make sure that you are out of harm's way. Okay, do not take risks. Okay, so if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share this, and I'll talk to you guys later.